Hello friends, this is CA Yogesh Panchakshari and we are talking about the conceptual part, that is theoretical part of costing of CA intermediate. So what is the menu for today? The menu is chapter number 4, overheads absorption costing. The basic theme of the subject is how to distribute overhead. Basically, what are the overheads? What is the meaning of the concept overhead? Which type of overheads are there, and how exactly they are distributed among all the departments? Basically, overhead, as we know, is nothing but indirect expense, an expense which is not directly connected with production. So obviously, the most important challenge is how to distribute these overheads, because no one is going to take care of it or no one is going to take the responsibility of it. If it is direct expense, you can very well identify which department, which product, which job has consumed that direct material or direct wages. But in case of overhead, it's a common expense. So distribution is a challenge. So let's start with the first short note. What are the types of overhead? Classification of overhead. Basically, overheads are distributed in three parts. First, factory overhead or manufacturing overhead or production overhead, which are supporting to the manufacturing activity, like supervisor salary will come under this. Repairs and maintenance of plant, indirect material used for the machinery, all these will come under factory overhead or manufacturing overhead. Office and admin overheads, these are the expenses which are paid for the day-to-day operations of the office, like the office staff salary, like accountant salary, depreciation of office building, depreciation of office AC, etc. And selling and distribution overhead, as the name indicates, is an expenditure to be paid for selling the goods and distribution. For example, delivery van depreciation is selling and distribution expense. Then special packing, salesman salary, salesman commission, everything will come under this heading. So these are three basic headings or types of overhead. If we go, so this was the bifurcation on the basis of function, why the overheads are paid. Now, on the basis of its nature, it can be three types, as we have already discussed in chapter 1. Fixed overhead, which are fixed in total, per unit it changes. Variable overhead, per unit it is same, and in total it changes proportionately. Semi-variable overhead, to some extent it is constant, then goes up, and like this. Next comes by element. That means how exactly it works. That is the indirect material, indirect wages, and indirect expenses. Why it is paid? The indirect material, like oil used for machine, indirect wages like supervisor salary, and indirect expenses like insurance of machines or insurance of office building, etc. So in this way also it can be bifurcated. Next heading for bifurcation or classification of overhead is by control. As we have seen in chapter 1, controllable overhead and non-controllable. Controllable means generally the variable overheads which can be reduced by reducing your production level. Uncontrollable, which is out of our control, is the fixed overhead which must be paid at any production level. So this was first short note, types of overhead from different angles. Okay, so let's move towards the next short note. Advantage of classification of overhead into fixed and variable. What is the advantage? Why do we classify it in fixed and variable? This can be the question. It's very simple. If we bifurcate it in fixed and variable, we can decide which can be controlled and which can't be controlled. First thing. Second thing, for budget estimates, it is easy. That this much is fixed cost, we'll have to pay. Rent is to be paid. It is must to be paid. Then we can prepare a budget properly. And as we have seen in budgetary control, we show the variable, fixed and semi-variable expenses or overhead differently. For decision making, for example, in marginal costing, we have seen how many units must be produced, that is break even point or required sales for desired profit can be calculated when we bifurcate it into variable and fixed. So that is why the overheads must be distributed in two parts, rather three parts: variable, fixed, and semi-fixed or semi-variable. So this was a second short note. Now, the third short note can be how to control the manufacturing overhead or how to record the manufacturing overhead. As we know, manufacturing overheads, even though they are indirect, but they are closely related with the production. So how to go for it? How to control and distribute? First, make the estimation and actual collection of actual data. How much overhead you have actually paid. Assignment of manufacturing overhead means distribution of these overheads. We have to find out the cause and effect, why it is paid and what exactly was the expected benefit and what exactly benefit received, which department has used this overhead or which department is benefited the most from factory overheads. So now the distribution starts. Firstly, you have collected the information. Now the distribution basically include three steps as we have solved in practical questions also. One is allocation, that means allocating the specific overhead to the specific department. For example, if there are two departments, one is machine oriented, second is labor oriented, and in labor oriented department you don't need electricity. So in that case, you can directly distribute the electricity expenses to the manufacturing department. So that is allocation. You don't need to apply your brain. Apportionment, as we know, apportionment is also called as primary distribution, in which we distribute the common overhead among all the departments or products by using a common base. For example, rent is distributed by using the area of each department, that is the ratio of the area. Employee, let's say canteen expenses will be distributed in the ratio of number of employees, cost apportionment. And cost reapportionment means you are distributing the cost of service department on production department by using different methods like repeated distribution method, like simultaneous equation method, trial and error method, step ladder method. This is all we have seen in our practical question also, practical part also. So these are the steps, and that was all about the distribution and control of overhead. Now there is one more concept which can be added in this short note, or there can be a different short note, that is absorption of overhead. Let's keep it in a different short note now. Yes, so the next short note can be absorption of overhead and treatment of under and over absorption of over absorbed overhead. Basically, absorption of overhead means prediction, making the prediction of overhead. For example, in last year, you paid 5 lakh rupees as electricity bill by on 1 lakh hours. That is for 1 lakh machine hours. So the rate comes rupees 5 per machine hour, 5 lakh divided by 1 lakh. So that is called as overhead absorption rate. Now in current year, if you worked for 2 lakh machine hours, so 2 lakh into 5, the bill should be 10 lakh. That is allowed. If the actual bill comes to 12 lakh, it means actual was more and allowed or absorbed was lesser. It is called as under absorption. So under absorption happens when the actual overheads are more than expected overhead, and it's a loss to the organization. Now how should be its accounting treatment? If the under absorption is due to abnormal reason like wrong planning, earthquake, or any natural calamity, in that case, any abnormal part of under absorption absorbed overhead will go to costing P&L debit. And the under absorbed part of the under absorbed part which was due to normal reason, then it should be absorbed by your good units, that is units sold, finished goods units, closing stock, and closing stock of WIP. So in short, if it is under absorption due to abnormal reason, costing P&L debit, normal reason, distribute it among goods sold, finished goods closing stock, and WIP closing stock in the ratio of units. And now if your actual overhead is less than expectation, expected or allowed overhead called as absorb overhead were 20 lakh, but actual overhead paid is only 18 lakh. So 2 lakh you have saved. It is called as over absorption, which indicates your gain goes to costing P&L credit directly. So this can be a good short note, treatment of under oblique over absorbed overheads. Now the next short note or next question can be asked, why the departmentation is done, why the overheads are distributed among department. Now all the department belongs to the same organization. Why do you want the cost to be distributed, overhead to be distributed among all the departments? Answer is very simple. It gives some advantages, like first, better estimation of expenses. You can make the estimation of overhead on the basis of departmentation. That means in the last year you have already calculated the overheads, so you can make the predict the rates, overhead absorption rate for each department separately. You can make the prediction for particular department. Better control. If you know which department is consuming more goods or more activities it is involved in, then higher rate of overhead will be charged, and you can keep the control on that department. Ascertainment of cost of each department. Many times the departmental managers are assigned with the profit. They are given the percentage of profit as a commission. In that case, they must know the cost of each department so that they can add the profit and sell the goods internally or externally. And suitable method of costing. Once it is decided that how much cost one department is carrying, you can decide a proper costing system for it. So if the departments are treated as different profit centers, then you can treat every department as different organization or semi-organization also. So these are the advantages when you are going for departmentation. That is, you are distributing the overhead among all the departments separately. It can be a good short note. Now, the next question can be asked, what are the different methods to find out the overhead absorption rate? In the earlier example, when I said in last year we paid some electricity bill, let's say 10 lakh rupees, and we work for, let's say 2 lakh machine hours, that means the rate comes to rupees 5 per machine hour. So machine hour was the base for calculating this absorption rate, that is overhead recovery rate. So that is one of the methods. So there can be different methods, there can be different bases to make the prediction of overhead. Like first, percentage of direct material. For example, in the last year, you paid rupees 10 lakh rupees for direct material and 20 lakh for factory overhead. So we can say factory overheads are double or 200% of direct material. So this is one probability. Second, percentage of prime cost. In the last year, my prime cost was 40 lakhs and my factory overheads were also 40 lakh. So I can say my factory overheads are always 100% of prime cost for any further job which I will go for. Percentage of direct labor cost. I paid 5 lakh rupees for direct wages and I paid 20 lakh for factory overhead. So I can say my factory overheads are 400% or 4 times of my direct wages. Labor hour rate. My factory overheads were 50 lakh and my factory is labor oriented factory. So I divided it by my labor hour. Let's say 50 lakh rupees overhead divided by 5 lakh labor hours. So 10 rupees per labor hour. So when it is divided by labor hours, it is labor hour rate. If my organization is machine oriented department, then or organization, then overheads divided by machine hours of last year give me the machine hour rate. And rate per unit of output. Last year my total factory overheads were 50 lakh for producing 1 lakh units, so it is 50 per unit produced. That can also be used. But nowadays the famous machine hour rate, famous base is machine hour rate, because almost all the organizations are using the machines. These are mechanized. If not, then labor hour rate can also be used. So these are different bases for calculation or prediction of overhead, called as overhead absorption or recovery rate. Now the next short note can be, what are different types of overhead rates? How the overhead rates are calculated? First is normal rate, means actual rate. In current year, forget about earlier year. In current year, I paid 60 lakh rupees for my overheads, factory overhead, divided by machine hours 3 lakh. So 60 lakh divided by 3 lakh, 20 rupees per hour. That is normal rate or actual rate. Predetermined overhead rate, that we have already discussed on the basis of last year's data. We have made some prediction. Like in last year, I paid 50 lakh rupees for 1 lakh machine hours. So it is 5 rupees per machine hour is the overhead recovery rate. It is predetermined rate, which is applied to the current year then. And blanket overhead rate, when organization is not having different departments, or even if it has some departments, all the departments are same. Like all the departments are machine oriented or all the departments are labor oriented. In that case, we use this common rate for all the departments or the whole organization. That means total overhead of the whole organization divided by, let's say, total machine hours of whole organization. Blanket rate, same rate applicable to all. And it is challenged by departmental overhead rate or multiple rate system. That means if the departments are having different nature, for example, out of 10 departments, 6 are machine oriented, 4 are labor oriented. So for first 6, we'll find out different overheads for each department divided by machine hours of each department, versus for 4, remaining 4, we'll find different overhead of each department divided by labor hours of each department. So for few departments, 6 department, we have machine hour rate. For 4 departments, we have labor hour rate. That is called as multiple rate system or departmental overhead rate. So in this way, there can be 4 types for making prediction or for calculating or analyzing the overhead rate: actual overhead rate, predetermined overhead rate, blanket rate, and multiple rates. So it can be a good short note to be asked. Okay, so next short note can be how to control the administrative overhead. As we know, being overhead, it is indirect. And when it comes to administration, then it is definitely not directly related or not even remote level related to the production activity. It is totally admin overhead. So how to calculate, how to distribute the overhead will be a important challenge. So first thing, apportionment of administrative overhead between production and sales departments. So by using a common base, you have to distribute it among all the departments. We have no option. There is no logical base even to distribute, but use the common base and distribute it to all the department. The main disadvantage is that we don't have any common base to distribute the admin overhead. For example, when a clerk or an accountant is working, how to distribute his work among all the departments. Second, charge it to directly P&L account. That is, don't charge it to any job. Directly keep it in costing P&L account and reduce it from the profit of all the jobs. It is also in a way good option, but again, that amount will not be recovered. You need to recover that amount from different jobs, and that is why it can be a challenge. And treating admin overhead as a separate addition to the cost of production or sale, so if I calculate total cost and then just add, or even find out the sales amount and then add a proportion of the admin overhead to it, it is also good. But again, there will be a challenge how exactly to distribute the factory overhead among all the departments. That's why controlling and distributing these overhead is a challenge. But how to control in that case? First, classify and analyze the overhead. What exactly the overhead is, what is its nature? Then control through budgets, create some control and budgets and control through it. That means the budget is allocated to each department and charge it accordingly. Control through standard, a standard overhead rate is to be applied and it is to be used for all the departments. Such kind of things can be done, but practically it's very difficult to control, or more than control, to distribute these overheads among all the departments. You have to use some common base for it. So this can be a rare short note, but may be asked in examination. Now, next short note can be about the selling and distribution overhead, which are very close to my heart because I know how exactly the selling and distribution overheads are. For any classes, may not be the distribution overheads initially, but selling or marketing, branding, these are the important costs to be paid. So what can be the short note? Basically, selling and distribution overheads are not at all related with production. They are related to the selling activity. So it's again very difficult to distribute, but generally that can be distributed in proportion of sales, or maybe in proportion of units sold, maybe in proportion of cost and all that. So but these are all the general basis. We cannot actually decide how exactly it is to be distributed, but you can further make a redistribution of cost, like sales department salesman salary will be distributed among all the departments. See, a salesman is selling all the models of a car, so how to decide for which model exactly he has worked more? So whatever number of units you have sold, that can be distributed. Or maybe he can say this much time I have devoted for one product, that can also be done. Advertisement, again in that advertisement, what was the content, and how much efforts were taken for each brand, that can also be the base. Showroom expenses again depends how much area your product is actually occupying. For example, car model 1, car model 2 and 3, we can distribute like this, but of course these are not logical distribution basis. Rent of finished goods, go downs and expenses on own delivery vans. So whatever number of units are kept in go down, whatever number of units are delivered, we can use it as a base. So but these are all general basis. It's very difficult to make such distribution. Not only distribution, it's very difficult to control this cost even, or even predict. Why? There are some reasons given. First, the selling and distribution mainly depends upon your external world. If there is no competition, if there are no competitors, why will I pay the amount on sale and distribution? It's very simple question. So it depends on our competitors moves. For example, if a competitor paid a huge amount, then you'll have to invest like that. So we cannot predict. Many times the prediction fails. Many times the customer focus changes, customer choice changes, and again you have to come up with some new advertisement plan. So that's why it's very difficult to control, and there is no base, there is no logical reasoning for any advertisement. And the most important point is there is no direct ROI from advertisement or selling and distribution overhead. So we cannot control, we cannot predict. So still some efforts are made. For example, what are the methods used for controlling? Comparison of past performance. We can make the prediction on the basis of past, not logically much useful. Prepare the budget and give the budget to the sales department. Compare the budgets with actual and find out the reasons, that is standard costing like this. So in short, controlling the selling and distribution overhead is really, really very difficult task, but maybe a short note is asked on it. Now, one more short note can be asked about capacity of a machine. For example, if you purchased a machine, there are different capacities involved in it. What are these concepts? First is installed or rated capacity. That means on the basis of technical evaluation, how much is its technical capacity? For example, ideally, your bike should give an average of, let's say, 69 kilometers per liter. But the star mark is given and it is written under specific conditions only, and there are no specific or ideal conditions on our roads, so we never get that average. So on the same line, the machine's rated capacity means technical capacity. This machine can produce these many units subject to in ideal conditions. Practical capacity, it is actual capacity utilization. That means generally we know whatever they declare, 80 to 90% capacity is practically useful or usable. Normal capacity is further reduced to the than the practical capacity, means in actual situation how much is used normally. So it is given, I installed capacity is this much minus time lost due to scheduled preventive and planned maintenance. Sometimes you have to keep it closed for maintenance. Number of shift of machine hours and man hours. Then number of shift also. If you have only one shift, so for second shift, the machine is idle. Holiday, normal shutdown days, normal idle time is there, and normal time lost in batch changeover. When a first person goes out and the other worker comes in, then again there is some time. So this is normal capacity which can be used. Of course, it depends on company to company. Same machine having the installed capacity of, let's say, 30,000 hours per annum may have normal capacity of 28,000 for one company and 29,000 for another. Actual capacity is the capacity actually achieved in this year. I was not having that much demand, so only 60% capacity used in this year is actual capacity. Idle capacity means when the machine was working but it was not used for production, maybe some maintenance activities and all that. In that again there is a normal idle time which is normally predicted that for after every 6 hours of play we have to keep it or we have to shut down the machine for 1 hour, normal idle time. Abnormal idle time, suddenly the machine broke down and we have to stop the production. This is all about the capacities of machine and the related concept. One good short note can be given on. Now, coming to some special items, and the question is how to treat it in the cost sheet. Are these items recorded or ignored? And if recorded, then where to be recorded? For example, interest and finance charges like interest paid against loan. So should it be recorded? There is a debate. So from the point of view of some cost accountant, yes, it's a cost, so it should go under the office and admin expenses. But some says, no, it is not directly related to production, then why to take? So we can conclude that if you are actually paying that interest, office and admin overhead can be charged. But if it is notional, for example, if I would have invested this amount elsewhere instead of machine, I would have earned this much interest, opportunity cost. It is not having any place in the cost sheet. Depreciation. Again, there is a debate that why to take the depreciation. It's a non-cost item, but ideally, yes, depreciation must be taken because it is reducing the life and utility of the machine. So if it is depreciation of factory, then it will come under factory overhead, office building, office overhead, delivery van, for example, selling overheads. Packing expenses are divided basically in two parts, primary packing and final packing. If it's a primary packing, that means if it is required to finalize the product, then it is added in factory overhead. And if it is final packing for further distribution, then it goes under selling and distribution overheads. Fringe benefits, that is extra benefits given to the employees, it is indirect cost, so it will not added in the basic direct wages. It can be added under factory overhead, then office overhead or selling overhead, depends to whom you are giving it. Expenses on removal and re-erection of machine. Ideally, removal of machine or re-erection of machine is a capital expenditure, so it should not be added. But cost sheet says if it is adding to production, then you can add it under production, that is factory overheads. Bad debts. Again, there is a debate about bad debts, but bad debts is ultimately your selling activity loss. So ideally, you should debit it to the selling and distribution overhead, add it to the selling and distribution overhead. Training cost. If training is regularly given, then you can add it in the proper heading. That means if the training is to the supervisor, factory overhead, accountant, office overhead, salesman, then selling overhead. If it is abnormally high, a special training, for example, the typewriters were removed and computers were introduced, huge amount was paid on training, that should go to costing P&L account because it is abnormally very high. Otherwise, it will increase the cost in the cost sheet a lot. Canteen expenses generally distributed as per the heading. That means if it is for factory, then factory overhead. If the canteen facility and expenses for office, office overhead. For salesman, selling overhead. Carriage and cartage expenses. If it is carriage inward, it is added in first heading, that is direct material consumed. But if it is carriage outward, then selling and distribution overhead because it is for sending the goods. Expenses for welfare activities. Ideally, it should not come in cost sheet, but it is added in selling and distribution or factory, depends for which department you are using or paying the amount. Night shift allowance, it is an additional amount paid for night shift. then again it is to be added in a particular overhead. That is, if it is to supervisor, factory overhead, accountant, office overhead, salesman, selling overhead. R&D expenses, if you are getting a new product, it's a capital expenditure, it will go to the balance sheet. If not, then it will be added under the particular head. That is, if it is for factory research, then factory. If it is some improvements in office work, day-to-day work, then office overhead. For selling, then it will go for selling and distribution overheads. But if it is normal, if it is abnormal, it will go to costing P&L debit. So this was an interesting short note which was asked and which has covered 12 different items, how to deal with these items in the cost sheet. So here we come to the end of the chapter overheads regarding the conceptual part, theoretical concepts in costing. I wish it will be very useful to you. I hope you will use it in the best way and you will score maximum marks in theoretical concepts. Also, I'll suggest all of you, please go through the practical part also immediately so you will get exact meaning of all these concepts. So read and I would say experience these short notes again and again. Use this video, see it as per your comfort, whatever times you wish to, and gain full marks in it. And if you liked it, please, please, please press the button of like and let me know what is your reaction about it. Thank you.